Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 288. Without any delay, start explanation. The corners of Shenhua's lips twitched. He said to Mu Chen, "Is this how you teach your disciple? Forging is an art. How can you do it in such a crude manner?" Mu Chen smiled. You have no choice but to admit that although his methods are crude, they are very effective. He depends on his superiority to make up for the lack of skill and experience. This only shows that my precious disciple is extremely intelligent. His blood sacrifice earlier was meant as a preparation for the forging later. Mu Chen was right. When Tang Wulin began the blood sacrifice, he was already done preparing for the forging that followed up. The greatest effect of blood sacrifice was precisely used by him to prepare an opportunity for himself in building the perfect fusion between his bloodline power and Metalwater Harmonizer. This type of opportunity was the most important for him. Tang Wulin had yet to become rank 8 Cent craftsman, but the forged products produced through this method would notably exceed that of an ordinary rank 8 Cent craftsman. In simple words, he was going to forge the Metalwater Harmonizer as a part of himself. The forged product would form a perfect fusion with his Golden Dragon King bloodline and thereby produce some of Golden Dragon King bloodline's characteristics. When Tang Wulin was bestowing intelligence to it, he had already passed on a part of himself to the metal. This way the piece of metal would thoroughly complement himself. Of course, only he was allowed to use it as a result. Tang Wulin had this idea ever since he first saw the piece of Metalwater Harmonizer. At present, he was only bringing it out from his thoughts to existence. From the mighty storm in the beginning to the gradual soft knocking, Tang Wulin was already completely immersed in the interchange between himself and Metalwater Harmonizer following the fusion of his Golden Dragon King's aura. Metalwater Harmonizer was just like a very active newborn infant. It continued to grow from an infant to a toddler, then step by step grew into a youth following Tang Wulin's forging and energy infusion. At the final moment, Tang Wulin even felt like he had become one with the Metalwater Harmonizer. The fusion of bloodline made no distinction between them. The scales on the surface of his body gradually transformed. Speckles of radiance emerged on every joint of his body. Tang Wulin's body gradually expanded, becoming bigger and taller, while Dragon Moon battle armor emerged covering his entire body. His aura elevated once again. Shenhua and Mu Chen continuously drew deep breaths as they watched the beast-like aura fluctuations. The boy had already grown stronger than they had expected. Finally, the dazzling pair of soul-forged golden heavy silver hammers hit for the last time. A joyous cheer was heard in everyone's ears. To everybody's surprise, the Metalwater Harmonizer swayed its body and suddenly transformed into a little golden dragon that leaped into the air. It pounced straight onto Tang Wulin's face before boring its way into his battle armor. Tang Wulin's battle armor glowed brightly at once. A layer of translucent enamel-like gloss was instantly added to the dragon pattern that originally covered the surface of his dragon moon. The dragon pattern even looked as vivid as if it had come alive. The battle armor had begun to produce a peculiar feeling, mild wriggling wave. There was no presence of majestic aura or light shadow effect, but both Shenhua and Mu Chen realized that Tang Wulin had succeeded. He had completed his soul forging. When Tang Wulin had earlier completed the soul forging process, the Metalwater Harmonizer had already achieved a degree of mutual empathy. This allowed the metal to fuse into his body and his battle armor to do what he needed the most. Even though Tang Wulin had yet to begin forging three-word battle armor right now, the Metalwater Harmonizer had already begun to improve his two-word battle armor such that in the future he could upgrade himself better in the direction of three-word battle armor. Can you do the refinement to such an extent? Mu Chen nudged Zhenhua in a provoking manner. Zhenhua coldly scoffed. I can do blood sacrifice too, just that it's unnecessary. Mu Chen burst out laughing. All right. There's no excuse for you to not admit your drawbacks anymore. I understand you well enough, don't I? At the very least, I don't think that you were capable of doing so when you were still a rank 8 Saint craftsman. I've told you since before that to become the most powerful Saint craftsman, one will not only need to be powerful in forging skills but in one's cultivation base too. You're not equipped with Tang Wulin's advantage in his ability, so you shall wait for my disciple to surpass his uncle master. Ha ha ha. Zhenhua spoke in rage. What are you flattering yourself for? The Metalwater Harmonizer was given by me. What have you given him? If you're not even qualified as a teacher, I think that Wulin needs to be transferred to our division. Are you losing your temper from embarrassment? Mu Chen sniggered. I'll never come in your way. Make him formally acknowledge you as his teacher in return if you can. However, I trust Wulin. He is a student that honors his teacher. Humph. It's just your B***shit luck. I'm too lazy to be bothered about you. Come, let's go out and leave him alone to comprehend his experience here. Zhenhua walked out from the room upon saying that. Mu Chen took a glance at Tang Wulin, who stood in front of the forging table with his eyes closed. His face showed a heartfelt smile before he caught up to Mu Chen. Tang Wulin closed his eyes and was oblivious to the outside world. He was completely immersed in the transformations after the Metalwater Harmonizer fused into his Dragon Moon battle armor. It deserved its reputation as the rarest metal in the world. After Tang Wulin had completed the process of soul forging, he could not even use the word catalyst to describe it. At present, his Dragon Moon battle armor was continuously transforming and elevating like his gold song when it began ascending back then. His forging harmony rate was already very high, but some of the minute incongruent spots on his battle armor were perfecting themselves under the subtle influence of Metalwater Harmonizer. Especially after so many great battles, the damaged spots on his battle armor were soundlessly regenerating after the infusion. It was as if the battle armor that covered his entire body had softened, or it could be said that it had become an even better prototype awaiting the arrival of the next evolution. Tang Wulin lost count of time when the battle armor on his body stopped transforming, but the Dragon Moon battle armor that covered his body had lost its original shine and even its scales were less prominent. Tang Wulin opened his eyes. He was not surprised but joyous over the transformation in his battle armor. He knew that his battle armor was now prepared to advance in a three-word battle armor's direction. Of course, now that it was in prototype form, he could not possibly use his battle armor for battles before completing his three-word battle armor. Since this was the case, he might as well complete it at one go. The developmental of soul devices had albeit resulted in the great difficulty for a soul person's abilities to influence the entire battle, but the power of a person was still the foundation to everything else. After all the people at the apex on the continent, such as Divine Mecha Masters, four-word battle armor masters, remained critical and significant regardless of the soul device's development. Just like the case of Atlas Doluor back then. If not for the sake of Tang Wulin and others, there was no one capable of stopping the grand old man if he insisted on leaving. Despite the rank 12 fixed soul ammunition, he would have never fallen there as long as he was not standing right in the center of the explosion. Since the opportunity had arrived, he should just grab it. Tang Wulin dialed a number on his soul communicator. Yushua, I'm going to engage in closed-door cultivation at the Blacksmiths Association headquarters for a while. Please take everyone along to familiarize the situation in Heaven Do City and the surrounding cities. Then wait for me to exit the closed-door cultivation. Long Yushue did not inquire Tang Wulin's reason to engage in closed-door cultivation at this moment, and she had only answered calmly. Sure. Tang Wulin realized Long Yushue's importance more and more. There were many affairs he could save himself a lot of trouble with her presence. Yushue, please invite my senior disciple brother to come over to Blacksmiths Association too, said Tang Wulin. Sure. Long Yushue's answer remained as simple as before. Tang Wulin retracted his battle armor and walked out of the forging workshop. He arrived in Zhenhua's office. Zhenhua and Mu Chen were both waiting for him. Upon seeing Tang Wulin's arrival, Mu Chen could not help asking with a smile on his face. How does it feel? Tang Wulin nodded. Metalwater Harmonization is genuinely a rare heaven and earth treasure. Uncle Master, thank you for your help. Zhenhua scoffed. It's fine for me to gift you something, but this thick-faced teacher of yours has been bullying me. Wulin, look. Uncle Master is treating you well too, right? Why don't you switch over and become my disciple? Anyhow, at your level, someone is incapable of teaching you anymore. You'll still need to learn from a person that's good enough. Tang Wulin immediately revealed an awkward expression on his face. Uncle Master, a teacher for a day is a father for life. So? Mu Chen looked toward Zhenhua with an arrogant expression. Do you admit your defeat now? Zhenhua scoffed once. Oh dear. This pair of teacher and disciple. Wulin, I recommend that you stay here for some time. The soul-forged Metalwater Harmonization should be bringing you many experiences. However, you were only capable of soul-forging it because you resorted to trickery. Even though, I believe that your comprehension of soul-forging has advanced by one step further during the process. Stay here for some time. Mu Chen and I will be providing you with some guidance. I think that you have the possibility of stepping into rank 8 for real within 3 months at most. His valuation was already extremely high. This thought had never occurred to him before witnessing Tang Wulin's forging today. However, after discovering that Tang Wulin's spiritual power had already achieved spirit domain realm, Zhenhua realized that no other force was capable of stopping Tang Wulin from advancing to rank 8 Saint Craftsman anymore. However, it would be best for Tang Wulin to do so as soon as possible. Tang Wulin smiled and said, I was just about to tell Uncle Master that I'm preparing to invade your place for a while. Metalwater Harmonization fused into my 2-word battle armor, so I intend to complete the forging for my 3-word battle armor prototype in this period. Zhenhua's eyes looked slightly excited. You wish to advance to a 3-word battle armor master? I think it's about time too. I suppose you've already achieved a breakthrough to Soul Sage cultivation realm, right? Tang Wulin nodded. Zhenhua and Mu Chen gazed into each other's eyes, for it felt even more shocking to hear Tang Wulin's confession in person than them guessing earlier. Mu Chen could not help and said, You truly deserve your reputation as the little monster from Shrek. Our judgment is slowly failing at catching up with your improvement speed. Zhenhua said, I'm acquainted with a few rank 9 mecha makers. Shall I invite them over to help you finish making your 3-word battle armor? Tang Wulin could only enter the 3-word battle armor level after he inscribed the core circuit and completed the final making process of his 3-word battle armor. However, Tang Wulin shook his head. There's no need for you to trouble yourself. My companions have some high-grade mecha makers. They'll help me finish making it. Tang Wulin's battle armor was designed by Gu, and just like how he had always forged the battle armors of his companions, Yuan and Yehui, and the others had always helped him complete the making process. They were an entirety. Through this process, they helped one another and even better familiarized themselves with each other. As the captain, Tang Wulin had absolute confidence in his companions. Thus, he was going to leave all that for his companions to complete. While Gu had yet to have the ability to design an even higher rank of 4-word battle armor back then, she had still helped in designing his battle armor to the extent of 3-word battle armor. Tang Wulin did not dwell too much on how he would advance to the path of forward battle armor in the future, for it was an issue that he should only consider when his cultivation base achieves title Dolor rank. Right now, only his companions would help him to make his battle armor. Alright. Zhenhua did not force him anymore. He was well aware that Tang Wulin had become used to his designated mecha maker, not only for the sake of familiarity but also for maintaining secrecy. After all, every person's battle armor was equipped with characteristics that belonged to the person, especially when the three-word battle armor came with its domain too. It was a different situation now. Mu Chen spoke in gratification. Better preparation quickens the speed in doing work. It's good for you to engage in closed-door cultivation too. Tang Wulin spoke. Teacher, uncle master, a senior disciple brother from my body sect will be coming over in a while. Can I please have here to assist me? Zhenhua spoke. You can do so as long as you think the person is trustworthy. Is that person the Strength King? Tang Wulin nodded with a smile. Zhenhua and Mu Chen gazed into the eyes of one another and both cracked into smiles. How could they not be acquainted with a Ruheng? When a Ruheng arrived at the Blacksmiths Association, Tang Wulin immediately took him to the forging workshop. Senior disciple brother, I plan to engage in closed-door cultivation for some time to complete forging the foundation of my three-word battle armor. I believe that your battle armor is still at two-word rank, right? While I'm at it, I'll help complete the forging of your battle armor too. What is your side profession? A Ruheng answered. My side profession is mecha mechanic, but my standard is only common. You know that I've been tormented all this time in my cultivation of our body sect's innate secret technique. How will I have the time to improve my side profession? Tang Wulin pondered for a moment. How about Sima Jinkai? What is his secondary profession? He's a mecha maker. He makes his own battle armor, but he has yet to complete his three-word battle armor. Shall I invite him over as well? Tang Wulin gave it some thought. Senior disciple brother, do you think that he's trustable? A Ruheng replied without the slightest bit of hesitation. Yes. The man is a martial arts fanatic. If not for you saving our lives, he would have sparred with you. Why don't I call him over and all three of us engage in closed-door cultivation? If you can help him complete his three-word battle armor, he will certainly shed tears of gratitude for you. He can be elevated to a three-word battle armor master with his ability. If all three of us are three-word battle armor masters, then we won't have to fear that bear lord when we encounter him again. It was apparent that they did not have three-word battle armor cultivation base, as they had qualified to enter Federal Star Do Battle Network Challenge. A Ruheng and Sima Jinkai were supposed to advance to three-word battle armor masters way earlier. Even Ma Shan had already become a three-word battle armor master. That would be good. Please invite Brother Sima over too. We shall engage in closed-door cultivation together for some time. The situation on the continent was still unclear at present. Moreover, Tang Wulin could very possibly have exposed his identity in Mingdu City, so it was a rather good choice for him to lie dormant for a period of time to elevate the suspicion himself. Sima Jinchi's dragon-slaying saber and a Ruheng's body secret technique were all related to Tang Wulin's cultivation. He seized the opportunity of this closed-door cultivation to try out everything. Countless golden light spots fused as one and transformed into gentle radiance before finally amassing on those four pure white feathered wings. The altar underneath his feet was as white as jade, yet the surrounding space was like an endless void. In that dark void, the speckles of starlight acted as the source of illumination. On the other hand, the radiance that gathered on the feathered wings came from the starlit sky. The owner of those feathered wings was burning with faint golden flames on his body. His head was full of golden hair that loosely hung down behind his head. His complexion was as clear as jade. It appeared as if there was golden radiance circulating on the inside of his skin. He appeared holy, akin to a deity. Soon after the final speckle of golden radiance fused into his body in the end, the golden flames that burned on his body slowly reduced. A deep low hum was heard from his body. It sounded pleasing and sweet like a sonorous hymn. Cultivating with your heart in the world of mortals. You're the first in our clan in the past 5 centuries to complete the second baptism by the age of below 30. Very well, very well. The dignified voice echoed in the void before vanishing in the end. A dazzling golden light pillar was abruptly illuminated around the man's body standing on the altar. It was as if the light pillar was conjured out of thin air. It enshrouded his body and washed away everything else. His silhouette had already vanished without a trace in the very next moment. On the peak of a mountain in the distant mountain valley, she quietly sat cross-legged. A sword was horizontally placed on her knees. She silently sat there with her body as stable as a rock. She had already melted as one with her surroundings, and there was no distinction between them. A waterfall cut through the altitude of hundreds of meters into the crystal-clear lake water under the mountain. The thundering rumble resulting from the waterfall reverberated in the valley, producing a magnificent echo. She slowly opened her eyes. Her pair of eyes reflected the waterfall, but there seemed to be something else in them as well. She moved the next moment. A stream of swords' dazzling radiance cut across the sky towards the distance. The sword's radiance continuously enlarged in the air until it swallowed her sword and devoured her body. It finally turned into nothingness and disappeared. On the other hand, she once again appeared at the peak of the mountain. She remained sitting cross-legged there as if nothing had happened. A few seconds later, a deafening boom suddenly sounded loud before completely vanishing. When gazed from the distance, one would be surprised to discover that the waterfall that was originally surging rapidly like the scattering Milky Way, broke. The neat and straight fracture could be seen on it. On the other hand, when it broke, one could see another person sitting cross-legged on a piece of enormous rock located at the bottom of the waterfall. He was only wearing a pair of tight shorts. His body was fair and chubby, but he still appeared dignified and solemn at present. His hands moved rhythmically in front of his body as a layer of radiance alternated between white and purple color virtually flowed around his body. The white radiance was suddenly infused into the purple radiance, turning the one around his body dark purple. One could even feel that one's vision would be devoured by the dark purple color just by looking at it with one's eyes. In the very next moment, the fair chubby silhouette made a gesture as if he was using his hands to push up the sky. The water from the waterfall that had once again started flowing down after the momentary break surprisingly vanished upon surging into the black-purple radiance. It instantly disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, the dark purple radiance rolled upward and devoured the entire waterfall. Between the intermittent illusory appearances, he was like the king of the dark night that shimmered and transformed continuously in the darkness. He enjoyed soaring freely, shuttling through the void. Finally, he had made a breakthrough at the end. Space could no longer constrain him. He had found the path that belonged to him. He was going to become a space runner, or even a space guardian. The daggers were nothing but a key that guided him in this world. His true martial soul was not the pair of daggers, for sure. He was the dragon of the space-time continuum. He was the master of overlapping shadows which would appear whenever space-time underwent violent changes. However, he was the loneliest among the dragons, where he was once the shadow guardian of the dragon god. He was a shuttler, just an illusion. He was a person of countless changes. In any event, there was the silhouette within his sight. It was an indomitable silhouette standing between heaven and earth. Even though he had already churned the void, she did not budge at all. It was as if she was becoming aware, transforming and sensing everything on the outside. He did not make any opening moves at all, because she had not revealed the slightest flaw. He could not approach her easily because of her ability to tear space apart. It seemed as if she had always been the nemesis in his life. Ever since the previous incident, her cloud vortex divine punch had grown more terrifying. She had the ability to stir heaven and earth. The aura emitting from her body was even more terrifying as it grew darker. She exceeded far beyond her boundary once she zoned into her fallen angel state. Hence, they maintained their current state. Neither made an opening move toward the other person. They were truly familiar with each other, such that both feared exposing their flaws to the other person. Her lips cracked into a faint smile. He had truly become powerful upon achieving the seventh ring. Streams of starlight, akin to meteors, descended from the sky and illuminated the body. She stood there with the streams of starlight illuminating the long and slim star staff in her hands. She had been here far too long and had lost count of time. She was only aware that she had already made a breakthrough to a 7-ring cultivation base. It felt like the stars in the sky were a part of her body. On the other hand, her body had since become the favorite child of starlight. She had no clue where the 7 soul rings on her body came from. At the moment when she made the breakthrough, she felt a gush of mighty force which descended from the sky with a peculiar roar emerging in her mind. In her spiritual world, a creature with a lion-like head and a body formed from countless starlight appeared. It seemed like an illusion. It vanished silently after fusing with her body. She could not call out for it even if she wanted to. In the depths of her mind, there was only a vague idea of it having a deep sleep in her body. The starlight was so moving. Every stream of starlight abided by its maxim. The observatory was specifically customized for her. Such magnificent starlight that continuously sublimed her body, spirit, and soul. She was not aware when her star staff began to transform. It was no longer in a solid form but was condensed from starlight. It could be long or short. It could exist in any form or even be a part of her body. She was precisely a star. This is unscientific. Aruhang sat on the ground in a daze. He kept muttering to himself, "This is unscientific, this is unscientific." Lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. A strong heartbeat was heard not far away from him. Aruhang turned his head to the side with some difficulty and saw Tang Wulin sitting by him. He had a mournful look as he continued mumbling, "This is unscientific, this is unscientific." He remembered vividly when he first taught the body secret technique to Tang Wulin. He once told Tang Wulin that the toughest part of the body sect's innate secret technique was the first step known as body forging. Body forging involved tearing apart a person's body completely before putting back the body parts using the finest method. The process required countless elixirs and extreme willpower. Tang Wulin said that he would attempt it. He then went ahead with the endeavor. Today, 3 days later, he told Aruhang that he had succeeded. It seemed he had already achieved body forging. Aruhang refused to believe it. To convince him, Tang Wulin began to cultivate the innate secret technique. Aruhang felt like he was brought back to the moment when he first walked out from hell back in the beginning. He listened to Tang Wulin's valiant heartbeat which made his bloodline boil. After years of torment, he had finally forged his body by taking the most important but also the most painful step in the innate secret technique. He had lost count of the number of body sect seniors who had died during this step. Surprisingly, his little junior brother disciple had only taken 3 days to achieve it. How is this possible? This was completely unscientific. This was truly unscientific. There's nothing unscientific about this. You must come to terms with reality, said the Gale Saber demon Sima Jinkai with a schadenfreude expression. Actually, he was not feeling any better than Aruhang. All along, he had always assumed that his dragon-slaying saber was the most powerful soul tool in this world until the day he met Tang Wulin's golden dragon spear. For the past 3 days, he sparred with Tang Wulin on countless occasions and finally grasped the nature of reality. In a manner of speaking, the dragon-slaying saber was just like the golden dragon spear's grindstone. Each collision made the golden dragon spear even sharper. Although the dragon-slaying saber would similarly benefit from the situation, why did he always feel like worshipping Tang Wulin at the end of every sparring session? As reluctant as he was to admit, he was well aware that the dragon-slaying saber was acknowledging its allegiance to the golden dragon spear too. Tang Wulin was completely immersed in the contemplation of the innate secret technique at present. He had no choice but to admit that the body sect's innate secret technique was truly a method of creating power by seizing the sources of heaven and earth. Its profound meaning defined the process as using the mighty forces between heaven and earth to penetrate, cleanse, and remold one's body. The combination of the 3 processes were known as body forging. Forging one's body relied on the powers of heaven and earth to remold one's golden body. One could only imagine the agony of this process. Tang Wulin did not have access to the body sect's numerous heaven and earth treasures, but he had the power of the Golden Dragon King bloodline. After absorbing the essence of the 11th layer Golden Dragon King seal, Tang Wulin acquired the bloodline power that surpassed the energy produced by the heaven and earth treasures gathered by the body sect over the centuries. Thus, when Tang Wulin began to cultivate the innate secret technique, his action was equal to using the Golden Dragon King's body to sense the heaven and earth maxim to receive the heaven and earth powers to cleanse his body such that his body would be perfect. Body forging was divided into 4 levels: body penetration, marrow cleansing, remolding, and the golden body. When these 4 levels were completed, one could proceed to the body sect's 3rd martial soul awakening. Aruhang spent decades to cultivate to the level of the golden body. Out of these 4 levels, body penetration was the most painful. Using the origin energy to penetrate one's body was equal to tearing apart one's body completely before putting them back together. The latter 3 levels were painful as well, but at least, it could be endured unlike the first level. Tang Wulin spent 3 days to complete body forging. He used the body sect's secret technique to comprehend the process of cleansing and removing his body. During the process, he sensed some changes to his Golden Dragon King's power. He would need to endure immense pain every time he made a breakthrough in the Golden Dragon King seal. The pain was precisely because his body was different from the Golden Dragon King. How could mankind possibly be the same as the Dragon Clan? On the other hand, he had a wisp of understanding when he was engaged in body penetration using the heaven and earth powers. He sensed vaguely that some parts of his human body could conform to the Golden Dragon King's body. Tang Wulin was a top student from Shrek Academy. No one could surpass Shrek in their study of martial souls during their heyday. Thus, the first idea that popped into his mind was of soul beasts which could cultivate to the beast rank before transforming into the human form. How were they capable of channeling the massive energy that was initially in their bodies upon transforming into the human form? Their bodies could still withstand the energy. Undoubtedly, the Golden Dragon King was far more superior than these soul beasts, so it was naturally capable of transforming into the human form. When it transformed into a human, what was its physical composition? With this idea in mind, Tang Wulin saw a gleam of hope. By using the body penetration method, he utilized it to strengthen his body's endurance against a massive external force. As a result, his bones were constantly tingling and transforming, while his flesh, blood, and meridians were improving under the silent influence of the process. He fine-tuned his body to perfection using the body sect's innate secret technique cultivation method. He never expected the body sect's innate secret technique to be so helpful. He could not have imagined the extent of its effect. If the first layer of body penetration truly helped fine-tune his body, then it would allow his body's ability to advance to another level. He was already capable of launching the Golden Dragon Avatar. When he transformed into the Golden Dragon King, he could familiarize himself with the Golden Dragon King's body to figure out how the Golden Dragon King Avatar stored and utilized its energy when he used the body sect's innate secret technique to guide his cultivation. It was undoubtedly the most suitable method to modify his body. Upon finding the path, Tang Wulin's cultivation of the innate secret technique was no longer the body sect's innate secret technique. It was now his very own technique. Aruhang felt depressed because Tang Wulin was capable of performing the body penetration, yet he did not appear to be in any pain at all. He even smiled occasionally. This world's truly unfair. Who's he? Together, they stayed there for days. Tang Wulin spent every morning forging. In the afternoon, he would be cultivating the body sect's innate secret technique, and at night sparring with Aruhang and Sima Jinkai. His life was being enriched. Each week, Tang Wulin would gather the reports from the Blood Dragon unit during their expedition to Heaven Do City. On her own initiative, Long Yushua had made a trip to Shrek City's former site. She brought back a few photos taken there along with some information. At present, Shrek City had turned into a huge lake which was 10 times larger than the previous lake. It included all the areas of the original Shrek City. It stretched as far as one's eyes could see. The government named it the Sea God Lake but not Shrek Lake. It was an obvious attempt to weaken Shrek Academy's influence. Although it took more than a day or two, it was decided by all the great forces having the same thought. Besides, there was not much movement regarding the rebuilding of Shrek Academy after it was destroyed despite the opinions coming from all sides. After all, Shrek was an academy regardless of how powerful it was in the past. The graduates had good memories of Shrek, although they had joined other forces upon graduation. They would need to consider the reaction from their forces despite their loyalty to Shrek. They were not allowed to express their feelings too much no matter how sad they were about Shrek's loss. Tang Wulin knew that one needed to appeal to the public if one wished to rebuild Shrek. Only by doing so, could he call out to all Shrek Academy's graduates who were scattered throughout the continent. However, the person who made the public appeal would certainly become the target of all the great forces. Clang! A melodious clash was heard. A streak of red-gold radiance surged skyward. The golden radiance shimmered and transformed into a giant dragon that spiraled in the sky for a long time. Finally, it transformed into a piece of battle armor which lay dormant on the forging table. It was molten red and overlapping with scales. It appeared simply magnificent. For unknown reasons, Tang Wulin found that he was getting drawn to magnificent-looking objects after the elevation in his cultivation base and growth of his Golden Dragon King bloodline. Perhaps, he was affected by the Dragon Clan's attributes. His entire battle armor was more stunning than ever before. Each dragon pattern was engraved with care and precision. By controlling his thoughts, there was no need for him to engrave the pattern himself. The Metalwater Harmonization would guide the alloy into completing the process. Despite help from the Metalwater Harmonization, it was still difficult to complete fuse forging 6 types of metals. The forging of the foundation metal was only considered completed after 3 whole months. In the course of time, Tang Wulin helped Ruheng and Sima Jinkai to complete fuse forging their 3-word battle armors. He had further strengthened their battle armors using the rare metal provided by the Blacksmiths Association. Although Sima Jinkai and Ruheng were depressed over their sparring sessions with Tang Wulin during this period, they continued anyhow. After all, the forging of the 3-word battle armors in the Blacksmiths Association's headquarters was beneficial for them. Little junior brother disciple, is it done? Ruheng had always been interested in the forging process. Thus, he frequently lingered around to watch whenever Tang Wulin was forging. It's finally completed. It only lacks the engravement of the core circuit. Tang Wulin smiled as he was pleased after completing the forging process. The foundation of his 3-word battle armor had taken form. He only lacked the core circuit. Naturally, he had no battle armor to use until he had it completed. It was time to summon his comrades' return. Everyone should have elevated themselves to the 3-word battle armor level by now. He was done preparing everyone's metal, so he could begin forging their battle armors upon their return. By then, Yuan and Yehui and the rest could take over making the battle armors while he attended to other matters. It was time to begin the construction of the mecha for himself which had been planned a while back. The layout design had been perfected earlier. The only thing missing was the forging and construction of the mecha. After all, he was not only a battle armor master but also an outstanding mecha master. Come, let's have a spar. I don't believe that your body's strength is better than mine now that you've just completed body penetration. Sima Jinkai sounded recalcitrant. They were almost at par with Tang Wulin when they participated in the Federal Star Do Battle Network Challenge back in the beginning. For the past few months, Tang Wulin's elevation rate was truly amazing. Both Ruheng and Sima Jinkai did not stand a chance when they sparred one-on-one with Tang Wulin. How could they not feel depressed because of this? Nonetheless, a sparring session among the 3 of them was quite useful in improving their combat experience and awareness. Ruheng had achieved a breakthrough to the rank of a 9-ring title Dolor. His abilities had improved drastically. On the other hand, Sima Jinkai had yet to achieve any breakthrough, but his dragon-slaying saber's power was elevated tremendously due to the constant stimulation from the Golden Dragon Spear. It was obvious that the martial soul fusion skill of Tang Wulin had improved as well. Sima Jinkai suffered silently and had to admit it no matter how reluctant he was. The Blacksmiths Association's headquarters had a massive underground gymnasium which was used to test all sorts of weapons including the battle armors. Zhenhua had granted the highest level access to the gymnasium for Tang Wulin. The defense equipment here was much more powerful than the one in the Star Do Battle Network. It was enough to withstand the collision of the title Dolor ranked powerhouses. However, it was limited to the three-word battle armor masters. When Tang Wulin and Aruhang arrived at the gymnasium, the Gale Saber demon Sima Jinkai was already there. He sat cross-legged in a corner with the dragon-slaying saber placed horizontally across his knees. The 8 soul rings on his body moved in an up-and-down rhythm, unleashing faint glows. He opened his eyes upon sensing their presence. He looked toward Tang Wulin and Aruhang as he suddenly shouted aloud, "Tang Wulin, take my saber." The aura on his body rushed forth as he spoke. It appeared as a mighty storm which transformed into a gigantic black dragon. The black dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. Its blood-red eyes were filled with evil and had a terrifying aura. The giant dragon was 10 meters long, but it felt like 100 meters. A dense, darkness element fluctuation filled the entire gymnasium, which made the lighting dim inside. Meanwhile, the dragon-slaying saber across Sima Jinch's knees suddenly hummed. It soared upright. No one could tell which soul ring was shimmering on the saber. The giant black dragon suddenly gave out a sorrowful cry as it fused with the dragon-slaying saber, akin to 2 rivers that merged and ran into the sea. The dragon-slaying saber was as huge as before. Its pitch-black, smog-like saber tip shimmered in a split second as it appeared to be separating heaven from earth. The saber's consciousness condensed into the saber soul and came alive. It cut through the sky with its spear tip, which was 100 meters long, as it slashed directly at Tang Wulin. The Strength King Aruhang had already leaped a distance away in a flash. He had lost count of the number of times such a scene had been repeated today. After sparring against Tang Wulin's golden dragon spear, Sima Jinch's dragon-slaying saber advanced by leaps and bounds. It advanced so quickly and was still improving almost every day, but he also could feel the relationship between his dragon-slaying saber and Tang Wulin's golden dragon spear growing closer as well. The dragon-slaying saber was accompanied by the terrifying saber tip that carried the power of a dragon, but Tang Wulin was calm and fearless when confronted by it. His eyes suddenly glowed brightly as his mouth opened and he shouted out aloud. "Roar!" The enormous golden dragon's head valiantly appeared. It felt like his body had already transformed into a golden dragon. The surging force produced by the fusion between Golden Dragon Roar and Dragon Might instantly shortened the 100-meter saber tip by half. A stream of golden radiance appeared out of thin air following it. It flew towards the outside at lightning speed like a gracefully cruising dragon. Thousands of dazzling golden radiance fused as one in a split second. The pitch-black saber's tip pulled inward and brazenly collided with the golden spear's head. Ding! A crisp sound was heard. Deafening dragon's roar echoed as an intense energy storm burst forth from the gymnasium. Tang Wulin was already capable of perfectly utilizing the 1,000 accusing fingers. Back then, after the Star Do battle network ended, Tang Wulin had already conceived the awareness of Spear Soul. Upon fighting against the numerous powerhouses during the battle against the Abyssal Plane and with the blessings of Doluor Continent's planar power, Tang Wulin already possessed Spear Soul, and only then had he created 2 great divine skills, King's Path and Final Stake. His spear technique was already attained and his Spear Soul was formed after sparring with Aruhang and Sima Jinkai for the past few months. 1,000 accusing fingers was utilized with ease. Even though his aura had yet to achieve the terrifying state that could break the void like how old Tang taught him in the past, he had definitely studied himself for truly comprehending the process. Golden radiance pierced into the black saber tip. Dragon-slaying saber burst out with continuously humming sounds. The black giant dragon that fused into the saber earlier was about to detach from dragon-slaying saber as the result of the tremor produced by the 1,000 accusing fingers Spear Soul. Meanwhile, the black dragon's blood-red eyes suddenly turned golden and the dragon-slaying saber's aura changed drastically. The divine weapon that was originally filled with bloody aura and evil energy suddenly calmed down. The primary evil energy dissipated in an instant, and in its place was a form of indescribable and incomparable prestige. Tang Wulin and Sima Jinch's body shook simultaneously. Tang Wulin's golden dragon spear gave out a loud and clear hum that was filled with excitement. It had transformed into a golden dragon as it spiraled its body around the dragon-slaying saber and stopped in the sky. On the other hand, all the radiance on the surface of dragon-slaying saber suddenly dispersed and transformed into a stream of piercing golden radiance that surged upward. The saber blade enlarged again and conjured a peculiar scene right in the middle of Tang Wulin and Sima Jinkai. It was a giant dragon exuding 9-colored radiance from its entire body. Its aura made Sima Jinkai and Tang Wulin felt suffocated. It felt like it could suppress the world. Sima Jinkai was almost worshipping in allegiance on the floor while Tang Wulin remained standing there. Other than the immense overbearingness, he was also sensing an intimate feeling that was difficult to describe. Use thy horn as the blade of justice. Kill all the evil dragons and annihilate the unjust. The saber of Dragon Clan has risen today. With heaven and earth as a tribute. With the beginning of heaven and genesis of the earth. The 9-colored giant dragon shrank abruptly and transformed into a person dressed in a 9-colored robe with an unclear appearance. The golden giant sword landed in his palm as he suddenly cut towards the sky. A stream of golden radiance surged skyward. The sky was instantly split into 2 halves. The first half had the sun, moon, and stars while the other was dark and dull. Countless dragon roars echoed through heaven and earth as if there were thousands of dragons worshipping in respect. Use thy horn as the blade of justice and be the origin of law. Thousands of dragons submit themselves to the ruler of justice. Dragon God, you're acting recklessly. Do you wish to break the divine realm by cutting the heavens? A sharp voice suddenly resounded from all directions. Following the voice, a stream of green shadow appeared out of thin air not too far away from the 9-colored silhouette. The voice sounded sharp and unusually unpleasant to one's ears. This is an affair of my dragon clan. What does it have to do with you? Said the dragon god. The dark green shadow sneered. Albeit you're the king of the dragon clan, you're also the elder of all beasts within the divine realm. You created a divine weapon for yourself with a dragon horn that can be regrown. What would happen if there are too many of these weapons in the divine realm? Do you wish to overturn it? The Divine Realms Committee sent me over to warn you and ask you to control yourself. Dragon God burst out laughing vociferously. I'm the master of all beasts, the king of the divine beasts. Who are you and how dare you order me around? The fellow god kings will naturally consult me if there's any instruction from the committee. It will never the turn of a rookie such as yourself to clamor before me. If you don't leave, I shall use your blood as a sacrifice to my saber. That's audacious. Dragon God, don't you ever regret that. I'm here as a representative of the Divine Realm Committee. The dark green silhouette seemed infuriated. You're joking, right? Since when did the Divine Realm Committee allow inferior gods to order me? When has there been an occasion where a god king himself doesn't communicate with me? Gods live peacefully with us divine beasts. It will never be your turn to raise provocation, you tiny monster. Scram! The dragon god had only shouted aloud, but it was as if the dark green silhouette had experienced some form of irresistible and terrifying strength. It transformed into a stream of green radiance and instantly fled far away. Soon after that, the dragon god raised the giant golden saber in his hand. Kill all that's evil, all that lies, all that is disloyal. The nine-colored silhouette suddenly enlarged as if he was connecting heaven and earth. The giant golden sword in his hand was shimmering with dazzling radiance and transformed into endless brilliance. Tang Wulin witnessed the scene in shock. There was no doubt that this was certainly a remnant projection of the Dragon Clan's mysteries and also depicted the formation of dragon-slaying saber. When the nine-colored silhouette finally propped himself against heaven and earth, Tang Wulin suddenly discovered that he could clearly see the person's eyes. Dragon God's eyes were as clear water without the slightest bit of impurity. There was a myriad of phenomena in his eyes shimmering with nine-colored divine radiance. So powerful. Dragon God took a glance at Tang Wulin with profound meaning in his eyes. The shadows suddenly disintegrated and completely fused into the giant golden saber. It was also at this very moment that Sima Jinkai, who was worshipping on the ground, suddenly straightened his upper body and roared into the sky. Streams of golden radiance abruptly burst forth from his body. The dazzling radiance burst through his skin and 7 bodily orifices. His entire body seemed to have already disintegrated, with his skin continuously peeling off and clothes turning into powder, leaving only his body that was glowing in dazzling golden color. In the next moment, his entire person flew toward the sky as golden radiance shimmered. In the sky, Dragon God's silhouette vanished along with the scene of thousands of dragons worshipping, leaving behind only the golden silhouette that surged skyward and the gigantic golden dragon-slaying saber that fused as one. The sky over the entire gymnasium was illuminated by dazzling brilliance as if a golden sun had suddenly appeared. Tang Wulin could obviously sense that under the illumination of the golden radiance something was added to his body. Golden Dragon Spear continuously hummed within the tremors as if it was bitterly wailing in sorrow, but was also cheering in excitement. Its complicated emotions had also affected Tang Wulin's mood. He suddenly came to a realization in his heart. The great war between the deities of the divine realm and divine beasts led by Dragon God back then was not as simple as Tang Wulin had imagined. It was highly possible that something had happened behind the ordinary people's knowledge. Otherwise, why would the divine beasts go against the entire divine realm? Only to become completely extinct in the end. How many hidden truths were there? Aruhung was already stunned from witnessing the scene. He saw a different scene as he had not witnessed the appearance of the dragon god. He saw the dazzling radiance that exploded after the collision between Tang Wulin and Sima Jinkai, followed by dragon-slaying saber enlarging in the sky. Then Sima Jinch's body surged out from the golden radiance as he transformed into a golden person that arose into the sky before fusing as one with the saber. There was no doubt that this was the sign of a breakthrough. He had never heard before that such a situation would appear when a soul master makes a breakthrough. It felt as if Sima Jinkai offered himself as a sacrifice to fulfill the dragon-slaying saber. Tang Wulin also felt that something had changed. The connection between the dragon-slaying saber and himself was clearly much stronger than before. He had no idea why he felt so. At this moment, the dragon-slaying saber seemed to have become a part of himself. The golden glow had persisted in the air for 10 full minutes. The dragon marks on the surface of the huge dragon-slaying saber started disappearing. It formed a golden beam of light that descended and embedded itself into the ground. The golden light dimmed and the dragon-slaying saber began distorting. It transformed back into a human figure. When Tang Wulin and Aruhung saw this figure, their pupils could not help contracting. Was this still Sima Jinkai? He was big, tall, and stalwart. He could have passed as the core of heaven and earth as he stood there. He seemed to be a dozen years younger compared to the old Sima Jinkai. His outer appearance suggested that he was in his 30s. His copper-tanned skin flickered with a faint golden light. His long golden mane fell loosely by the sides of his head. His looks resembled that of an impetuous child who had just arrived at school. His pupils were vertical and nobody had noticed when this change had occurred. The muscles on his body screamed strength and beauty. His aura was now contained and not sharp like a saber as it was before. 9 soul rings rose from beneath his feet and circled around his body. Among them, the 9th soul ring was the most striking. It was an impressive-looking golden soul ring. The other 8 soul rings paled in comparison before it. They seemed to be there to serve as a contrast. Sima, I say you've grown handsome. What was this? You can break through in this way as well. Aruhung could not help himself and said with envy. Sima Jinkai did not reply to him. He only raised his head to look towards Tang Wulin. A complicated glow flickered in his eyes. After a few seconds, he walked up to Tang Wulin and fell onto one knee as he reverently said, Your Majesty. Tang Wulin was startled. He hastily leaped to the side. Big brother Sima. What are you doing? He knew how proud of a person Sima Jinkai was. Tang Wulin was surprised when Sima Jinkai addressed him as such. What was happening? Sima Jinkai reverently said. Your Majesty, there's no need to evade. It was by your grace that I was able to come into this world in the first place. From this day on, I'll be the power saber in your hands that cuts everything unjust, disloyal, and evil in this world. Tang Wulin was at a loss as well, but he could faintly feel that this was connected with the Dragon Clan's mysteries that he had seen just before this. Sima Jinkai would have never out of the blue addressed him as Your Majesty. However, there was no doubt that he had broken through a 9-ringed cultivation base. He was already a powerful title d'honneur. He was definitely the most powerful among his rank. When the power saber struck down, even with his level of confidence, Tang Wulin could feel that he was no longer a match for Sima Jinkai. Hey, if you're addressing my junior disciple brother as your majesty, then I'm your majesty's senior disciple brother. From now on, please address me as your majesty's senior disciple brother. Aruhung huddled over while giggling. Sima Jinkai stood up and shot him a glance. Get lost. F***CKU. Do you think you're great just because of a breakthrough that you are looking down on me now? Let me see what kind of ability you have gained after this breakthrough of yours. Aruhung laughed and hurled a punch at Sima Jinkai. The two of them were used to fighting each other. They had never been on good terms with one another either. After Aruhung broke through 9 rings, his strength had always been a notch greater than Sima Jinchi's. When he saw that Sima Jinkai had also broken through to 9 rings, how could he not feel happy after seeing his prey? Sima Jinkai moved quickly. He dropped his shoulder and rammed Aruhung. The instant Aruhung's fist collided with Sima Jinchi's shoulder, he felt a sudden peculiar feeling. It was as if he had not punched a human, but a blade. His body sect innate secret technique erupted and Aruhung's fist suddenly enlarged. Boom! The two of them swiftly separated and retreated as quickly as lightning. Nobody had gained the upper hand. Good. Again. Aruhung was excited from the fight. He suddenly drew a deep breath and his body instantly enlarged. He was already 10 meters tall within the time it took him to draw a few breaths. His great bald head shone with a metallic luster. His 9 soul rings rose and circled around him. Forceful heartbeat sounds could be heard. His bloodline shook as he unleashed his body sect innate secret technique's second awakening. Golden light flashed within Sima Jinchi's vertical pupils. He took a step forward and there seemed to be illusory shadows of 9 giant dragons flickering behind him. A great golden saber magnificently appeared. It was 5 times larger than his dragon-slaying saber. He wielded it with both hands and launched a strike. Clang! Amidst the intense clashing sound, Aruhung's body flickered with golden light. He was surprisingly sent reeling from the impact. On the other hand, Sima Jinchi's body swayed slightly and he staggered backward for only 2 steps. Good strike, again! Aruhung shouted. In the next instant, he shot back toward his opponent like a cannonball. Tang Wulin had already retreated back to the side. He watched the two of them fighting and seemed to be lost in thought. Sima Jinkai, who had broken through to 9 rings, was much more powerful now. In terms of age, Sima Jinkai was older than him and Aruhung. He also looked old and had appeared to be in his 40s before this. Not only did he look younger with this breakthrough, but his entire person was also different. Especially there seemed to be some remnants of the dragon god's aura on him. This sensation was very strange to Tang Wulin. This was because he could clearly feel through this trace of aura that Sima Jinkai and his bloodline were somehow connected. It was as if Sima Jinkai was a part of his body. This was not a familiarity that would arise between humans. It more closely resembled the feeling he felt with his golden dragon spear. This feeling was strange without question, but it undoubtedly existed. Sima Jinchi's dragon-slaying saber was too powerful. It was clear that he had achieved the saber soul and he might even be at the edges of a higher level. Compared to Sima Jinkai, Aruhung was at a disadvantage in their head-on collisions. However, he had his advantages as well. With the power of his body sect innate secret technique, he had a body that was almost immortal. His body's tenacity also allowed him to fight for prolonged periods of time. Time and time again Sima Jinkai sent Aruhung flying with every strike of his saber. However, Aruhung continued charging over again. The two of them appeared to be equally matched. Of course, neither of them had unleashed their own soul skills. Tang Wulin was more curious about Sima Jinchi's 9th soul ring. What kind of effects did that golden soul ring possess? Tang Wulin had heard of golden soul rings before. It was equivalent to 1,000,000 years. It was clear that Sima Jinkai had not obtained that soul ring by hunting a soul beast. It seemed to have been brought to him by his dragon-slaying saber itself. How powerful was that soul ring of his? If it truly was at the level of million years, then Aruhung would not be able to block it as long as Sima Jinkai activates his soul skill. Tang Wulin would also like to see what kind of effects this golden soul ring held. However, the two of them exchanged blows with saber and fists for half a day, yet Sima Jinkai showed no signs of utilizing his soul skill. He particularly did not use his final soul skill. Let's stop here. You've truly grown stronger. Not bad. I finally have an opponent for my future fights. Ha ha. Junior disciple brother, I don't think it's easy for you to defeat us now, right? Aruhung leaped out of the circle and shouted to vent his satisfaction. A worthy opponent was difficult to come by. Sima Jinchi's improvement in his cultivation base was a joyful event for him too. Sima Jinkai retracted his dragon-slaying saber as well. His emotions seemed slightly down. It seemed that he was pondering over something. He even a bit seemed absent-minded. Big brother Sima, I'd like to talk to you in private, Tang Wulin said to Sima Jinkai. Aruhung had clearly not witnessed the scene where Dragon God made an appearance. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to not have asked about it with his personality. Since the scene was only witnessed by Sima Jinkai and himself, they had to discuss it. During the fusion with the dragon-slaying saber in the final moments, Sima Jinkai clearly felt something. That was why he showed a change in attitude afterward. Tang Wulin was curious about what he felt. Okay. Sima Jinkai agreed. What's up with you two? Junior disciple brother, don't tell me that you're swinging the other way after he's become this handsome. Ha ha ha. Aruhung said. Sima Jinkai furiously glared at him. Shut your filthy mouth. Nobody will think that you're a mute if you keep your mouth shut. Aruhung laughed and said, all right. I too can see that you're depressed. You guys can have your talk. I'll take my leave. He appeared to be rough around the edges, but he was also perceptive in his own way. He did not ask much as he strode away. Only Tang Wulin and Sima Jinkai were left in the gymnasium. Big brother Sima, you two saw the dragon god just now, didn't you? Why are you addressing me as your majesty? Tang Wulin asked. Sima Jinchi's gaze was clearly complicated. He looked at Tang Wulin before he looked down at himself and sighed. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.